Oh, mental conflict. What is it really all about? I'm not going to begin to give dictionary, blah, blah, grammars here. We all know what that means, what it is all about. Mental states. It is a mental health conflict, actually, is our state of internal struggle that occurs within our persons. We feel it every other time. We know it every other time. Out of stress, we see ourselves struggling over a lot of issues. We may not understand what is going on. That is mental conflict. We are actually being confused within ourselves. So it's a state of internal struggle that occurs when a person's mind is divided between opposing relief, opposing belief, or desires. Yes, this happens to us even in homes, between couples, in the offices, even with our children, name it. A lot of conflicts is either to impose your superiority to the other person out of ego, you know, or otherwise. So there are things that actually trigger this mental problem, this mental conflict within us. There are things, quite a number of things that triggers it up. And then if we know what triggers it, that's the only way we could know how to handle it. And if we could handle it, then I think we have a better society to live in. Because what is going on today is not just because of economy. No, it starts from us, from our mental mind, our mental strength, I call it. If we fail, if our strength fails us, if our mental mindset lapse, if it fails, then we see ourselves.
It's okay. Engineer Vivian, your network is not so friendly. We may have to pause you at that point until the next time we'll call you up. May I have David King to unmute and just give us some insights on the common triggers or common causes of conflicts in relationships. King David, are you here, please? Can you take the floor?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me, sir?
Very well, thank you.
All right, beautiful. So, thank you so much, everyone. I deeply appreciate you, sir, and for choosing to host me on this online session. I do not take it for granted, and thank you so very much. I deeply appreciate it. So, talking about contemporary, of course, I love the way Doc has started off, and even though her network is not very friendly, we hope to hear the other part of what she wishes to communicate with us this evening. I also extend greeting to the rest of everyone in the house. I deeply appreciate each and every one of us for turning up for this session. We're talking about contemporary, looking at the contemporary era, also judging issues of conflict in marriage and relationships. And this season of our life is a very unique one. When I look at the fact that this season we are in this contemporary era had to do with the information age, of course, which even though the information age started way back, but we are still in that season where information is moving at the speed of light. And it's a very crucial era. I remember telling someone that imagine the war that broke out, the civil war that broke out in Rwanda. That war broke out in a time when there was no GSM, there was no telephone to communicate. And it happened and overtook the entire country. and people started carrying machetes and other forms of, deadly weapons and killing each other because of word of mouth. Imagine that time. And now, with the push of a button, we can communicate across space and time in split seconds. If a time when we did not have as much information power like we have now, war was able to break out through a whole nation. Imagine how powerful information is. That's the era we are right now, the information era. We are also in the season where social media has replaced so many things in our lives. We're in a time where you can walk into a room filled with like 10, 15, 20 people, and at least 15 of them will be buried in their mobile phones. I mean, we've never seen anything as crazy as that. I wasn't born into that. I was born into a time where we sit down and we communicate face to face. And then to see that time come and meet me, it's amazing, really. It's amazing. That's the time we are in right now. We are also in a season where women are awakening to so many things in society. And we can see that that awakening is both positive and also has, if I may call it, the weak side of that situation. So these are some of the things. We are talking about triggering what causes and triggers conflict in this unique era. And I just want to shed light on a few things, which of course I know that a lot of us already know, because I mean, we are also in this era and we are also seeing all of these things that I'm mentioning. Number one of the things that I have identified as a marriage coach and relationship coach that causes conflict in relationship and marriage, we think it should be obvious, but it is not. And thank God for meetings like this. It is an opportunity to point out some of those things so that we can look at it as we discuss and rub minds about it, so that as we go out there, we have that responsibility of extending this thing or these thoughts onto our families, onto our friends, and of course, people that we meet out there. And one of it is what I call difference. One of the causes, major causes of conflict in marriage. Like I said, it's obvious, but a lot of us are not aware. We've not embraced that fact. And that is, like I said, difference. Number one, difference. You and I, we are all different. And I usually would tell people that even twins who were come about by the splitting of a cell in the mother's womb to bring about either twins or triplets or quadruplets, as the case may be. Even twins, if you analyze their lives and look at their lives, you will understand or realize that twins are different. Different in behavior, different in comprehension, different in so many things. And like I always tell people that if twins can be different, if siblings can be different, how much more husband and wife who were raised and brought up from different backgrounds, raised and brought up from different environments, raised and brought up with different ideologies and mindsets. Difference. But you see, we get into marriage and a lot of us fail to acknowledge difference. So we find ourselves, in situations where someone is like, why are you thinking like this? If it were me, this is how I would have handled the situation. Difference. That person is different from you. You are different from the other person. different in temperament, different in upbringing, different in education, different in mindset, different in experience, different in exposure. All of these things make up the difference in each and every one of us as human beings. And if we can first and foremost acknowledge the fact that we are different, then we can begin to see why we understand things or see things from different perspectives, why we have different opinions, why we have different choices. But this awareness is not embraced. And so for me, that is number one. Number two, we have a lack of listeners. We have a lack of listeners. We have people who listen to respond rather than listen to understand. Many of us in marriage today, we lack that ability to comprehend and understand what the other person is saying. Agreed that communication is also weak. So just like I would tell someone, I need a cup of water. I would feel that I have communicated. But the other person may go and fetch me a cup of warm water, whereas I was looking for a cup of cold water. But if I had said, I need a cup of cold drinking water, that makes it understandable. So first and foremost, like I said, even though communication is weak, where people communicate with themselves or with the other person as though they expect the other person to understand all the terminologies they are using, how they are trying to communicate. Nonetheless, we also have a situation where on the other side, we have an opponent from the beginning. And like I tell people, a lot of us listen like lawyers. Pardon me if there's any lawyer in the room. I mean no disrespect to your profession. What I mean by that is this. When a lawyer gets into the court of law, he's listening to pick something from what you will say, to use it against you or for you, depending on if he's, my counsel or the counsel of the other person. So he's listening to say, okay, what is he going to say? What is he going to say that I can use in this argument? So a lot of us in marriage, a lot of us in relationships, we listen to respond rather than listen to understand. Well, I know I was just meant to chip in a little thing as a means of introduction, of course, based on the fact that we're looking at what are the common causes. And we all know, because we are all in relationships, many of us are married also, and we experience these things from day to day. So if I just begin to say, okay, number one, number two, number three, number four, and all of that, but I just felt, let me pick out these two and elaborate on it, because for me, I see them as, would I say, top on the list. That is difference, acknowledging and embracing difference. And of course, two, a lot of us don't know how to listen. We don't know how to listen. And like I'm saying, listening to understand. This is one of the things. When you just listen, somebody says one thing and you interpret another thing without even following what the other person is saying. And of course, lastly, temperament. When it has to do with temperament, a lot of us don't even know our temperament. And I see temperament as foundational. If I don't know my temperament, I don't even understand how I relate with people, why I talk the way I talk, why I behave the way I behave, why my spouse behaves this way, thinks this way, and all of that. So I just want to highlight these three, and then maybe as we go ahead and I have the opportunity, I might mention some more. Thank you so very much, sir.
Thank you so very much, King David. We do appreciate.
Thank
Can
you,
I have Engineer
Thank
Vivian
you,
here? Can she speak to this? The triggers of common conflicts or common causes of conflicts in marriages.
One of the things that triggers the marital conflict are, one, is simply lack of poor communication. Poor communication. Why do I say that? Communication is key in a relationship, very, very key. And most often in a relationship, somebody somewhere, be it a man or a woman, thinks because of the position he or she is wielded in, is more of an advantage to be listened to. So he tends to unknowingly oppress the other person. And when you are oppressing somebody, automatically there's a gap, there's a crack. The person began to feel that he's not being heard. He's not given an opportunity to express him or herself. That brings a very bad situation in a relationship. It triggers a lot of conflicts in a relationship. Can you hear me?
Oh yes, what we do.
Good. Another trigger that I know from studies is emotions. What do I mean by emotions? Our emotions, most times, out of fragile emotion, we tend to misjudge. We come from the angle of being irrational. That triggers conflicts a lot in a relationship. Another place again that I always have been saying happening repeatedly is lack of appreciation. When you don't appreciate anything, you don't appreciate, depreciates.
Okay, it looks like we've also lost her the second time, and we're going to continue. I was thinking on my own that there are certain things that could as well trigger conflicts in relationship. Principle of them, in my own thoughts, are finance and sex. These are things that oftentimes we don't like to talk about them, but I also think or have observed that these are issues that have continued to erode relationships, and we see ourselves moving from lover-birds, and now we're estranged that we don't even believe in ourselves, and to the point of separation and finally divorce. Times are hard. If we had had higher statistics of divorce or marital conflicts, we're going to have more, experience more as the economy turns worse. So finance is one of the things that could as well lead to estrangement in relationships. Someone whom you so loved at some point, you get estranged because there's a stiff economic position. And sometimes this happens when there is a reverse in income generation in the family. Some of us believe that the man is supposed to provide for his family. But when that is not the case, and the woman begins to provide, there's an upside down of events financially in the family that can as well bring some strength in the relationship. And we have seen this a whole lot of times happening where people can no longer understand themselves because of financial issues. Again, it's about financial budgeting, managing the home front. Probably you've given out some capital for an investment or for a business to be set up, and at some point it goes down south. So sometimes these are issues that are never told, but they could cause. And the second one about sex is one that we know so common. And in most cases where families are having issues, trace down, you could see that their sexual relationship is not actually on top notch, but nobody will ever tell you. They don't talk about this. So I think this can also contribute. Their sexual compatibility or understanding can as well contribute or cause conflicts in the family. And that one, they don't talk about it. Nobody will tell you. They just keep it mute and then be telling you some other things that are secondary causes. But that could be the primary thing. So going forward, I'm sure Engineer Vivian hasn't exhausted herself, but network is affecting her. I'd like to yield the floor again to my dear friend King David to talk to us on the effects of these conflicts and the estrangement in families. How does it affect us? Is it cheap? You know, these days it's so common when people will tell you and advise you, instead of dying in that marriage, please, I'd like you to walk out alive. Or rather than get yourself drowned in a relationship and get choked. You know, those common lines that they use when they want to separate. You know, they will advise you to just walk away, as if walking away is so cheap and is so easy. I'm sure it has its own causes, it has its own costs, it has its own implications. I don't know if you have anything to tell us regarding this line, the effects of marital conflicts and estrangements. King David, please, can I yield the floor to you?
Thank you very much. So, talking about the effects of marital conflict and estrangement. I love, there's something you said when we started, when you were introducing the session. You said we are in an era where for better, for worse, no longer means anything. and it's sad. It's sad. And a lot of times I usually ask couples that if they are really aware of what they were saying when they were making their vows. Now, if you look back in retrospect, even at your own wedding, for those of us who are, you know, who can cast our mind back to our wedding, you will remember that a great number of us were not paying full attention to the events that were unfolding during our wedding. We were particularly interested to know if the food has arrived, if the caterer had delivered, if the drinks have come. Our best man is like our PA, who is giving us updates every now and then, tapping us, distracting us from the occasion that brought us into our wedding. So much so that even the very vows that we made on the day of our wedding are like mere recitation to a lot of us. Many of us don't even remember the things that were said. It was like, repeat after me. And either the priest, the pastor, or the officiating party in the court would say, repeat after me. And they would say, and you will say back, without taking into cognizance what you were saying and who you were saying it to. And so that's one of the reasons why, you know, our marriages are weak, because for starters, we were not intentional about those declarations that we made. Certain things like, take for instance, that I am going to give up everyone else for you. And then we get, but that is not the case. I'm not even talking about those who go out of their matrimonial bed to cheat. I'm also talking about those who do not actually take their partner as number one, like they vowed that they would. And so even from beginning, it's like we are acting out a script. We live in an era, sad to say. Let me point out an illustration from one incident that should be very fresh in our memory, which happened maybe about 3 years ago. And that's referring to the death of our beloved sister, Osinachi. And the whole thing was online. The internet was agog. In that season, I was personally sad to discover the number of marriage counselors who came online to be making marriage sound as though, or look, or appear as though marriage is second place, as though marriage does not have any value. And so we could, in fact, from that season, a lot of people to this day go into marriage already having option B, option C, option D. And I'm like, what's going on? That is not the marriage that is intended. That is not what marriage is supposed to be. And I know this is not a Christian meeting, but for me, who is a Christian, and I understand the origin of marriage, which happens or began in the Garden of Eden, from what the Bible records, it is a fact that man did not originate or initiate marriage. It was initiated by God. And so even the person who created us found out that this is something that we need. Marriage is indeed a necessity. And when we talk about a conflict is something that we cannot avoid in marriage. You will never show me someone who says he does not have conflict in his or her marriage, and I will show you a liar. Conflict is something we will never be able to avoid. But what we can do with conflict and in conflict is how can conflict be resolved when they arise? Or how can we minimize the reoccurrence of conflict from a situation where it is very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very, very rampant. In other words, it happens every now and then. How can we minimize it? That is what we should be looking at. But in a situation where we do not know how to manage conflict, and we also do not know how to minimize it, then what are the effects? And the effect is obvious. Like I always will tell people, the effect of conflict is estrangement. So there is something I call maintenance in marriage. Let's assume you buy a car today. From the very moment you purchase that vehicle begins to deteriorate, whether you know it or not, whether you acknowledge it or not. And if after 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you don't even bother to open the radiator to check the level of water, you don't check the level of oil, you don't visit the mechanic to do an oil change, to carry out a maintenance. Now, it doesn't matter whether you got that vehicle brand new. Sooner than later, that vehicle will pack you on the road. Whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, whether you acknowledge that fact or not. And so conflict is something, like I said, that will of necessity show up. But a lot of us do not carry out maintenance on our marriages. And like I asked, what is maintenance? How do we sit back and analyze our marriage on a day-to-day basis, maybe on a weekly basis, maybe on a monthly basis? Do you sit down with your partner to ask questions like, sweetheart, how am I doing? Or how are we doing? What are those things that I do that you don't like? What are those things that I do or that I have improved upon, that I have gotten better at? And if your partner gives you that feedback, are you willing to sit back and say, okay, now I know where I can make adjustments? Or now I know where I have improved and where I can do better? You wouldn't have this information unless you carry out what I just mentioned, which is maintenance. But if you do not carry out maintenance in your marriage, in your relationship, by checking out where the loopholes are, where you are doing poorly, where you have improved, that conflict that we have refused to resolve, that conflict that comes up on a consistent basis is going to eat up into the very fabric of our marriage. And before we know it, a marriage that was once like this will gradually begin to go apart. And whether you like it or not, that is the root and the cause for divorce. Show me a marriage where on a day-to-day basis, each person is striving to get better. Each person is striving to improve. I will show you a marriage that will always improve upward and forward, making progress all the time. Another thing I would always want to say, one thing about people, marriage, I ask couples who come in for premarital counseling, I ask them, why do you decide to marry your partner? And you hear things like, oh, she loves me, he loves me, he respects me, she respects me, she does this, she does. It's all about what the other person is doing for them or for me. And while I understand that, because you see, one of the things that makes us get into relationships with people is because of the things that we stand to get from them, the benefits that we stand to enjoy from that relationship. It's natural. But by the time you get married, we are supposed to flip the coin, where it is no longer just about what I stand to benefit. What about what your partner stands to benefit? Are you not just a taker, but also a giver? Imagine a marriage where both couples are givers. Givers of time, givers of resources, givers of emotional connection, givers of love, givers of empathy, givers of kindness. All of these things. And then occasionally we stand to ask ourselves, what am I doing good? Or what should I be doing better in my marriage, in my relationship, where it's not just all about me, 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 me. It's two persons that makes this marriage work. What about the other person? Am I making you happy? Am I making you not to regret the day you met me and decided to toe this line of marriage with me? These are questions we should be asking ourselves. Which are the things that I call of maintenance? Otherwise, the effect, whether I want to mention whatever it is, is that your marriage will continually go apart little by little. Every day it is shifting. Every day it is shifting. And before you realize it, you'll just come to find out that you are in the same house or married to a stranger. Somebody you thought you know, but you do not know the person. These are the things that causes separation. These are the things that causes divorce. Where it's all about me, it's all about me, and it's all about me. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, David King. I was expecting to hear the implication or the cause of the estrangements that we see happen in families and in relationships. You know, how easy it is for people to say that I don't want anymore, I am done. I don't know if you've ever heard that. It's up to here, I no longer can take it and I want to just take a leave. You know, is it as easy as being said, or are there implications even upon the person who is actually wishing that it's time for me to leave this relationship? I'm sure it comes with some emotional burdens. I also know that it has some societal, criticisms and some other weights that come with it. It's not just as easy as that, and some other responsibilities beyond just saying, I am done. I don't know what your thoughts are on those.
Absolutely, you're absolutely correct. We also live in a time where there's a lot of influence on our marriages, where a lot of times it even goes beyond the things that we personally desire as individuals. Influence and expectations from, you know, everything that is happening around you. I was talking with someone yesterday in counseling, and I realized that the major reason why, I mean, for him, he he didn't see any reason why he should get married to this lady, a lady that he was in a relationship with. Everything was pointing to the fact that the two of them were not cut out to be together. Not because anybody was right and the other person was wrong, but the fact that the two of them, it's like putting a square peg in a round hole. There was so much disparity between the two of them. And the only reason why he was going on in this marriage was because he was concerned about what people would say, what people would think. And then you could see that external influence, even though he knew within himself that he was making the wrong decision. But he was so concerned about what people would say, what people would think, and all of that. Flip the coin the other way around. We also live in a time where a lot of people are, of course, concerned and influenced by external forces, whether it's parenting and all of that. You know, parents will wake up and tell you, you have to leave, pack your load, leave. Where friends also has that influence and all of that. And, you know, there's a lot of hard work that comes into marriage. And permit me to say this, as sad as it may sound, a lot of us are lazy when it comes to handling the work that comes with marriage, the responsibility that comes with marriage. Now, it takes a lot for me to own up that I'm wrong, to walk up to my wife and to tell her I am sorry. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. It takes me dropping my shoulders, which every man has. I call it our natural shoulder pad. Ego. Every man has it. It takes me dropping my ego to size and walking up to my wife and say, sweetheart, I said something I shouldn't have said. I am terribly sorry. Pardon me, forgive me for what I did or what I said to you. It takes a lot from a man to do that. But this is the work that comes, or this is the responsibility and the work that comes with marriage. And that's why I tell people, I say, marriage is not for children. So at times you find situations where husband and wife have a misunderstanding, and then for weeks, they are not talking to each other, and they're in the same house. No, unacceptable. We don't do that. It is not the proper thing to do. But you see, I can excuse those who do it. Because you see, these are some things that we do because we have not come to terms with where we are. We have not come to terms with the fact that I have a responsibility to my partner. I have a responsibility to myself. And so, these are things that we are supposed to begin to do. One of the other things that marriage does is that now when you are single, let's assume now when I was a single person, as I earn my salary, I'm just thinking about, okay, what am I going to do? I need to change my shirt. I need to do this. I need to do that for myself. I need to save. I have this I'm planning for, and all of that. All I'm thinking about is myself. When I get married, I don't think that way. I've stopped thinking about me, myself, and I. I'm now thinking about us, my wife and I. And so one of the things that marriage does is that it takes away selfishness. It takes away self, where I'm all about myself, and it introduces the other person who you are able to share your life with. Now, if you begin to say, "Oh, okay, I don't like marriage. I want to get back to when I was single," you are trying to run back to that life that reinforces selfishness, where all you are going to be thinking about is you, yourself, and that's it. Those are one of the costs or implications of separation and divorce. Another thing is, at times, I tell people that the fact that you divorce your partner or you are separated from your partner does not mean that your partner was completely in the wrong. A lot of times, separation and divorce stops us from owning up to the fact that we were the ones who needed the change, who needed the transformation, were the ones who were the problem, who were the reason why the marriage did not succeed. But if we don't acknowledge that fact and we just run, I don't want to do this any longer. You see, one of the things that is very common on the divorce table is that people hardly own up to their faults. You always see the accusing finger. Oh, he did this, or he didn't do this. Oh, she did this, or she didn't do this. Nobody looks at themselves and say, I am the problem. It is very rare for you to find someone who is actually divorcing their partner who sees themselves as the cause or as one of the causes of the problem. And we need to get to that point in our lives where we can begin to take responsibility. Your partner cannot be all wrong while you are all good. It takes two to make a marriage work. I sing it as a song. It takes two to make a marriage work. I found a situation where someone was telling me that I'm the reason my marriage is succeeding. I told her, I said, you're doing it wrong. One person cannot carry the weight of a marriage. If you try it, one day it's going to crush on you. It's going to collapse on you.
33 people.
So all of these, yes, please. So from my angle, I would say that there are so much weight when it has to, even on the children, because a lot of time people just separate and all they are thinking about is themselves, what they want for themselves, and it's okay to be selfish. But remember that when you came in as husband and wife, you brought in children along the line, and you're about to destroy their lives based on that separation. Statistics have shown, even in countries that are way ahead of some other countries, first world countries, statistics have shown that children that grow up out of divorced home, they stand a better chance of living wayward lives, backward lives, lives that end up in failure, and a lot of them end up in prison, a lot of them end up dead, a lot of them end up in drugs and all of that. The children are also part of the marriage, and we cannot disregard this fact. So all of these are also effects and consequences of breakups. Somebody says, okay, should I just stay there and die? Well, that's another issue altogether. But in some cases, like I said, some of us are very weak when it has to do with managing conflict, managing our marriage, that it has not even gotten to a situation where anybody is raising a hand on you or anybody is raising their fist on you. You just want to take off. And this season, marriages are so weak. And I think we should change that ideology so that marriages can gain some more strength. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, David King. You're awesome. I really want to appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Before I'm going to open the mic for everyone to make their reactions, because we'll have about 32 listeners to this discourse, I would want to know if Engineer Vivian will have something to say concerning what we're discussing. And I also would want to have you one more time speak on resolutions or strategies for managing this kind of conflicts, because at the rate we are going, sooner than later, we may not have marriages anymore. We may not have families, and that's our building block, our building units for the society. So I'll still have you come back to speak to some of these things. But for now, may I have Engineer Vivian to know if she has something to say regarding all this, and then I will open the mic for reactions.
King David, thank you so very much. Unfortunately, the network has been unfriendly to me this night, but it's okay. Okay, you've spoken so well. Yes. Today, what you see everywhere is castigating marriage, making marriage look as if it is not worth doing, making people who have actually failed in their own home, when they see relationship, when they see two persons that are doing well, they come in a kind of a hidden style to make either the wife or the lady or the man to look as if he doesn't know what he's doing. He's stupid or he's a fool to be cuddling and to be committed with the relationship. Now, I tell people when I go out to talk and when I meet friends, marriage is just beyond what you just look at from another angle. Your marriage is different. Your relationship is different. Let's actually take it wider. It's different from the other person's relationship. I could remember growing up, there are a lot of things I see some homes, some families go through. And their children will say, God forbid, I don't like this. This is not good. This is not nice at all. It's either the way their father is treating their mother or the way their mother is treating their father. You see the children in the home, they're going through pain. And they prophesy and say, they will never repeat this. Don't like this. It is toxic. It's bad. At the end of the day, these same people that comes out to say what they're going through in their homes is not good, they will never allow that to repeat in their homes. They see it happening, reoccurring in their own home by the time they are grown, that by the time they form their own family. So, so that is to say that we are not intentional. I feel that marriage should be handled intentionally. Firstly, by knowing and choosing. Are we hearing me?
What with you?
Thank you. Firstly, taking into a very deep thought and action of the origin of marriage. Everything has its own origin, its own rules and regulation, its own pattern, the blueprint of what it should be. And if by our belief, if we are Christians, if we are Muslims, if whatever we believe in, there is a pattern, there's a rule that guides marriage. If we could state by that and stand by it, we will not have this strife that we are having in marriages. Because I call it strife. The man is replicating what he sees his friend or his father did. He wants to replicate in his own home, in this time, in this hour, at this millennium. It's wrong. This is where we find ourselves. This is the basis why we are having this issue, this problem. I've come to see and I've come to know, I'm going to disagree with it. If it's just what causes much problems in marriages is money. It's not money. I was opportune to listen to a preacher, and I bought it wholly, that says we are toiling because we have missed what it should be. We are not meant to toil in a home, in a marriage, but we are toiling because We are not working as a team. We are not working in the same manner, in the same mindset, understanding. So we are not supportive to each other. So when one person is running on the race, he's not handling the baton to any person. He's just running anyhow. And by the time he gets to the finish line, he finds out that he's not even in the finish line. And the battle is starting again. But when you know that it is not just me, just like what Dr. King David said, it's not just you. It's us. And us is the man, the wife, and the children. If you have that at the back of your mind, it will guide you to know that whatever you do out there, you are representing somebody, not you. You are representing your wife or your husband. You are representing the children. You will tell yourself, I will not bring shame to these ones. So I think, and that's the truth, like my brother said it before, that marriage is a work, and we should work it out to make those people that feel and bringing in to sell all over the place that marriage is nonsense, is a scam, to make them understand that it is never a scam. It is a good thing. It is sweet. Problem will be there. Yes, challenges will be there, but it becomes very easy to solve those problems when you are working as a team, when you are we and not I. The problem will be solved. But when you are working alone, problem will continue. And let me tell us, what the world wants to see every day in homes is problem. Because once there is problem, they'll be able to lynch on it and build and establish their evil intentions. So we should work on avoiding it and work on when it comes, working it out and solving it as a team. That is my own stand. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Engineer Vivian. I do appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on all of this. Okay, thank you once more. Before I'm going to ask for the last thing, before I open up the mic for discussants or for the participants to react to all of what we've been saying all along, I want to know, what's your wrap-up on ways and solutions or means to end conflicts in homes? I could take from our discussions all along that part of what causes the conflicts we have in homes is number one, the difference that we never took cognizance of, the diversity that we never recognized. Secondly, not being active listeners. We may be listening, but we're not actively or smartly listening to identify differences. And when our partner begins to say things that are not things that they are not comfortable about, we also need to pay attention to all of those. And then not being humble or owning up even our mistakes, our errors. Here we'll look at anyone who apologizes as the weaker person in relationships. We don't own up when we make mistakes or when we have erred. But I think that what could solve challenges even between nations is just a simple word, sorry. And not just to say sorry, but showing commitments and committing or stating what you're going to do differently if you have the opportunity to change things. What would you do differently if you have the chance or the opportunity to do so? So these are things I can take away so far from our discussions. And the family is not scam. Marriage is not a scam. If you find the right person and you play your role, it comes with responsibility. So these are my little takes for now. But I would want to bring back again for just a few minutes, a very, very few minutes, David King to share what he thinks people should do, because I believe that one or two persons who are listening to us may be having it rough, and or maybe there are one or two things. He said here, David King, that show me a family or relationship that is not having conflicts and I will show you a liar. I took that. So people are going through things, but they wouldn't say. So the essence of this discourse is that maybe after now, one person, two persons could just go back home and reconcile or realign actions and thoughts to be sure that their family or their commitments to each other is still upheld. So I'll be having you back here again, David King, to talk to us. What's your take? How do you think families should resolve these issues that we may still have marriages and still have homes? Because the way we are going, it's scary that time will come when
Thank you, Doc. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, everybody will be somewhere having babies without marriage. That's what it looks like, or the point where we're going to. So please, I yield the floor to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity once again. Okay, the way forward. Of course, I like the way the take-home points that you have put a pin on. Those things you repeated, those notes. Of course, those are the reasons why we are here, so that we can rub minds and share thoughts. And talking about the way forward. Of course, you've talked about acknowledging differences. I just want to re-emphasize it, because when we come to the realization that I and my wife, or a woman who is here, who is married, and her husband are two different personalities, two different beings, it makes it easy for us to appreciate the other person. Now, here's the thing. The reason you are married to your partner today is because of the things you liked in your partner. I use the word liked. And in some cases, those things are still there. The reason you may walk away from your partner tomorrow, or may be divorced or separated from your partner, will never be because of the things you like. It will be because of the things you do not like. What does that tell us? We are drawn to people because of the things we like about them. We are separated from the people we are supposed to have a relationship with because of the things we do not like about them. Now, here's the thing. A lot of times, the things we do not like about our partner, we expect them to change. At times, we demand change. And I usually would tell people that change is not something you can demand. Change is also not something you can expect. Sorry, I may bust your bubble tonight. And the reason that I say that change is not something you can demand is this. If you are a father here, you will agree with me that there is a way you have tried to bring up your children by demanding certain things from them. And you think that because you demanded it, that whatever you see is because change has happened. I will shock you, because one day when that child leaves your house, the real person on the inside will show up. If you look back to you and me sitting here tonight in this discussion, you will realize that how daddy and mommy tried to raise us back in the day by insisting that this is what I want you to do. We usually would put up a front and act as though we are in consonant with what daddy wants or what mommy wants. We know the sound of daddy's car or daddy's horn. When we hear it miles away, we conform. we behave. But wait for the day that you got admission and went to school. The real you resurfaced because change did not happen. And the reason change did not happen is because change was demanded. Secondly, change cannot be expected. Sorry, like I said, to burst your bubble. The truth about it is, expectation that does not involve your participation cannot be guaranteed. Let me say that again. Expectation that does not involve your participation cannot be guaranteed. If Dangote should call me tonight and say, David King, tomorrow, come to my office and see me, I'm going to write you a check of $100,000. Is that something Dangote can do without batting an eyelid? Absolutely. But if I take his word for what he has said, and probably tonight, I go take a loan that I did not have, of money I did not have. I go invite my friends and take them out to the club, knowing that, tomorrow I don't hammer. That, see, because even though the person who said, come, I'm going to write you a check, I trust in his abilities and his capabilities, nonetheless, I cannot guarantee performance because I do not partake in whatever will bring that performance to pass. Dangote could just wake up from one side of the bed tomorrow and change his mind. He does not owe me, and there's nothing I can do about it. Dangote can just wake up tomorrow and call me and say, David, that thing I said would happen today, I have shifted it. I have an urgent call outside the country. There is nothing I am going to do about it. And so the same thing happens with change. Even when someone says, I will change, it is good to expect it, but that expectation, so long as it does not have your participation, don't give it 100% guarantee. What am I saying? Change has a process. I'm talking to husbands, I'm talking to wives here tonight, who think that, this woman don't show me like this man don't show me like this. How can you be doing this? You did it today, you did it yesterday, you will do it again tomorrow. And I say change is not automatic. You looking at me tonight, if you were to look back into your life, you will find out that there is something that has trailed you right from when you were a little child, that you have tried to change. In fact, every year on the 1st of January, we call it New Year resolution. You will tell yourself, I want to stop doing this. Give yourself 1 week, give yourself 2 weeks. You will find out that that thing you said you want to stop, you will find yourself reverting back to it. Why? Change is easy to say, but change is not easy to actualize. And so if you begin to say, because this woman no one change, this man no one change, okay, I give up. There is something called the process of change, and it happens over time. A lot of us are not patient.
Thank you. Thank you.
Embrace change.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
You have so much to dish out, and time is a constraint. I won't let you be on the spree. Yeah, I will let you be on the spree.
It's okay, sir.
I'm sure this discussion can continue some other time. I'm not going to let everyone leave here without having some good reactions. Please permit me, let me just have my engineer, if our network is friendly this time, to just say her wrap up, and then the mic will be open for persons who would want to react, make input, or ask questions, or tell us even real life stories. We'll have that. So, Engineer Vivian, please, if you're here, I want to yield the floor for you. Permit me just for a very few minutes. Don't be as long as David King, please.
Okay. Yes, yes. He's a man of action and he practices it. David King, you are just something else. Thank you so much. I'm quite proud and
Thank you, ma'am.
impressed with it. Yes. So,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
brothers and sisters, I think and I know that marriage is a good thing. I know most of us are Christians. Marriage is a good thing. We should guide it so that we'll be able to leave a good legacy for our children. What we are facing today in our societies, what starts from the home, where you say the man is there out there chasing money. The money is chasing becomes useless if the family is not put together because you can bring all the money and your children there will be your figure and your light tomorrow and not there to give you peace. It will cause more pain than the wealth you have acquired. Women, please, if we could just stop taking advices from those women who are envious of us in our homes. They cannot be like us, and they're not ready to emulate and be like us. They now form a kind of cocoon to break us by feeding, subtly some negative things into us. And you come to a woman and say, I beg, not be this marriage, waiting be that one, I'm not go die. If you do your own, I do my own. We have seen today what is going on about open marriage. Whether we like it or not, it is bringing shame. It is bringing shame. So these conflicts and these problems, this strife we are having, that is stagnating us. If we can work together, I think we have a long thing and a long way to solve it and be happy. And we know that marriage is happy to be in. Let's make it work. Thank you.
It's been a wonderful evening, my dear friends, and we've had it from the best of sources. People who have stayed in their marriages, who've had scares, and they've actually overcome their challenges, and I'm sure they're managing their own conflicts because I know conflict is something that exists with relationships. So I want to thank you so much for being with us and for being patient. At this point, I want to know if we have reactions. Anyone has anything to say, you want to ask a question, you want to comment, you want to react, you want to even disagree with what we're saying. Maybe marriage should never be, or conflict should be allowed to degenerate. This is the time we can yield the floor to you. So please, if you have anything to say, we want to have your hand indicated. You can indicate just going to your settings, just touch on the raise your hand and we'll have you speak to us. Someone is saying amazing meeting here. Thank you, Dr. Kelechi, and to you, King David. All right, thank you. So any reaction, any question, any contribution, real life situations, things that are happening. I ran into a lady a few days back who was telling me that she doesn't believe in marriage. And her major reason was the fact that when guys are toasting her as a lady, they go all the way out, do all manner of things to entice her, bring her, to the point where she accepts the relationship. And down the line, you see that there will be this disconnect and it's no longer the toast as usual. And she feels the same thing happens in marriages, that when we chase, we find, and then settling in a relationship or a marriage, we no longer chase. So she feels that it's better not to be involved in a relationship, in a marriage, so that she will continue to enjoy the chase. That's part of what could be causing the conflicts we see in homes, when people are no longer chased and they no longer chase. So one thing I think is if you can sustain a thing, don't just start it. We have so much in our hands and we need to all have a way around some of these things. So I don't know. Chinoye, all right. Thank you so much. I want to yield the floor to you. Please, you can go ahead. It's all right. If we don't have anyone who has anything to say, we're going to call it a wrap. I want to thank you for being part of this. we're going to look at this and then make it available to you. If you want to have this event or meeting is recorded, if you want to have a copy of it, we wouldn't mind you dropping either your email at the comment section, your email, phone number, maybe through WhatsApp. However, we can reach out to you and give it or pass it. We want to do that so you can listen to it over and over and maybe make your comments. We also have our YouTube channel, Insights with Dr. K. You may want to also follow us so that you can be on trend with us or find thoughts about what people would want to share, what we were saying on our own. So please, we'll encourage you. I dropped the YouTube link on the message. You can go there and click on it for follow. I don't know. I'm having a new message here. Is anybody willing to say something? Okay. Oh, my PDG. PDG Elvis, thank you very much. I'm seeing here at chibiko@gmail. All right, please, if you want to have a recording of this meeting or conference or virtual, whatever you call it, or call, we want you to drop your email. We'll have it and pass to you the recorded session. I want to thank you so much. David King Etienam, I thank you so much. You're awesome and amazing. I'm sure this is not the last time we're going to have you in our calls. We'll have you over and over. And I believe that anytime we call, you will pay attention to us in your busy schedules. Thank you so much. My own very engineer, Vivian. Yeah, thank you so much too. For, in fact, you're the alternate convener of this call. I want to thank you in a very special way.
I have a question. Hello.
All right. So thank you. I'll let you do that, please. Muna, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dr. K. I have a question for Mr. David because he's been talking about marriages and the conflict and every other thing. I didn't hear him talk about abuse in marriages. And I was meaning to ask, if marriage gets abusive, is there a way to resolve it? Or is this just a walk away thing? Maybe when he's done with that, I would ask my next question. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I wouldn't want to burden him so much, but I want to take one more question or reaction, then he will respond to you. I have Ichie Makeup raising up his hand. Ichie, I yield the floor to you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Are you hearing me?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Dr. K, I'm so grateful for this. And King David has also done well. Engineer has also done well. I just want to make a little contribution. I've been listening all through. First and foremost, I'm so grateful that we are discussing this. You know, most of the times we are too busy chasing what we don't really know. And in the process of chasing those things, our marriages are going bad. And first and foremost is the courage to even discuss it. Because a lot of people is going through a lot of family challenges. Nobody want to talk about it. Everybody comes and feel that all is well. But I just thought this is just the starting point. I want to encourage you guys to put more light to it. But let me just make a simple contribution. Marriage is the best thing that can happen to anybody. I want to give a personal instance on my own. I'm from Abia State. My wife is from Edo State. The culture is so different that the first thing I did was to call her, sit her down. Say, babe, say, let's find what will make this thing work. Because I come to understand if what my mom and dad practiced was marriage, somebody like me would not have been interested. Because for me, I don't understand what they were doing, but they were living together. But their marriage wasn't the format for me. So what we did was to call ourselves. Let's sit down and see what will work for us. And God helping us, we've done that for 15 years. We've never had any major challenge or the one that will call friends and well wishers to come and help us. Then I'm speaking to men, although most people, if you're a young man here, I keep telling young men that most of us marry for the wrong reasons. One, agendas we set up for ourselves most of the times is a problem. I keep telling young men that breast that you're looking that is pointing at you, once one or two babies suck it, it will fail. So if that breast is your vision, certainly you will have a problem. If that breast is your vision, you will have a problem, because that is where the infidelity and looking outside, because the breast you are hoping on has fallen. So from day one, know what you want.
Okay, we're
Have
having
a
more hands
exam
up.
plan of what you want. So I have a lot to say, but let me just give other people a chance. Thank you for making our time to do this.
Thank
God
you
will bless you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Nice.
Thank you so much. David King, Engineer Vivian, I'm noting some of these questions. I also would want you to do same, but I have more hands coming up. I want us to take all of them.
Yes,
And
sure,
then,
I'm doing that.
yes, so let's have all of them, and then we'll respond once at a time, and we'll all be good. I have Edinwa raising up her hand. Edinwa, after you, George will take the floor, and maybe we'll call it a day. All right, Edinwa, the floor is yours.
All right. Good evening, Dr. K. Good evening, our resource persons and dear friends on this session tonight. I I want to appreciate our resource persons for what they've been able to give us this evening. One thing I understand that we all agree that there are conflicts in marriages and relationships. Let us also know that conflicts can be positive or negative. For me, I want to dwell on one aspect through which you can be able to avoid some of those conflicts or misunderstanding. And this has to do with an approach developed by Mahatma Gandhi, and it's called non-violent communication. Non-violent communication is a communication approach that focuses on empathy, honesty, and understanding. It aims to create a connection between individuals, resolve conflict peacefully, and improve relationships. Now, it also gave something. He also brought out five pillars of non-violent communication, which centers on respect. It centers on respect. That is, the family should develop a respectful behavioral model where parents should model respect towards each other, children and other members of the family. Parents must intentionally develop the use of respectful language and tone, demonstrate a high sense of empathy and active listening to every views or opinion shared. Now, the other is understanding. In understanding is just like in respect, the family must give each person an undivided attention and maintain eye contact and showing a great deal of empathy by putting oneself in others' shoes. Parents must always acknowledge and validate emotions. They must avoid assumptions and encourage open and honest dialogue. Then the third one is appreciation. Each family member should learn how to show and express gratitude to other members by giving genuine compliments, acknowledging efforts and accomplishments. They should also learn to spend quality and dedicated time with family members by engaging in activities they enjoy. They will have acceptance. Family members should focus on strength on each other rather than on their weaknesses. This is very important. They should learn to embrace each family member's uniqueness and avoid being judgmental or critic. Then the last one is compassion. Parents must at all times give full attention to the family and share each other's viewpoints. The family must show understanding by recognizing each other's struggles. Our language must be gentle. Speak kindly and softly to each other and avoid criticism. Physical affection is also necessary here to build a better bond. So if you can apply these five pillars of nonviolent communication in a relationship, in a marriage, you find out that we'll be having a balanced relationship and marriage experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate. That's quite insightful. Thank you, George from Owerri. Edinwa, I can have you speak now.
Yes, my Rotarian, my PhD, and others in the house. Good evening, all. I
Good
just
evening.
have one thing, or should I call it a contribution or a question? Another thing again that equally causes all this is out of sight. Sometimes is also out of mind. When you are away from your partner and from your family, from your children, in fact, sometimes it equally diverts your mind to get a second wife or to look for someone outside there because you're unable to reach out to your family members. As it stands now, so many guys or so many families or wife or the husband, they are now looking out to travel outside the country. People want to japa. Why they want to japa? Because of the hardship we are experiencing now in our country. And before you know it, there will be separation from both partners. So out of sight is equally out of mind sometimes. Not to all, but as it stands now, people are traveling here and there. And a woman who has been staying with the husband for years and she's no more seeing the husband to stay with, maybe she's feeling cold or she's lonely and nobody to be there for her. I wonder how she will be or how she will stay all alone in the house. And before you know it, she will be in a different association, have friends, having meetings here and there, attending to different associations here and there. And before you know it, she will now divert her attention to somewhere else. And the feelings will not be there again because she's not seeing the husband physically. So we should equally try as much as we can to also look onto this. If we are traveling outside the country, give yourself some years or 2 years or 3 years. Let me come back and meet with my family or do the visa together and jump out with my family than staying over there for 10 good years. You are not there with your family. So sometimes it brings out separation in the family. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's quite valid. You stated the obvious. I wouldn't want to respond to you. I'd rather have David King and engineer Vivian to look into this. We had question from Muna relating to abuse, and then we're talking about distant relationship from Edinwa. So David King and Vivian, this is for you.
Okay, thank you. I will just take it briefly first. Let me start with the last person that spoke about distance. The truth is, we may not be able to stop that or eradicate it based on what we see today in the world. But this again can be handled. How? Thank God for technology. I take myself, for instance, my early stage in marriage. My husband was with an organization that takes him out every other time. I remember for like 10 years, we could hardly say out of the 365 or so, we stayed together for like 1 month or two. He's always on the move. Now that is where discipline comes in for both the man and the woman. And that is why it's very important to know who you are marrying to. Now, loneliness, yes, that is true, but it can be handled by getting yourself involved with people that are positive, not wrong company. Not wrong company. Being there for each other spiritually, and then knowing that, yes, this person is out for this while for a purpose. If the man is out there, he knows that I am out there, but I have my wife by me. And then every other time, at every other evening, they should be able to talk to themselves. In the morning, they should be able to talk to themselves, pray together. In the evening, and they are retiring home, they should be able to talk to themselves and say good nights. And with that, the loneliness will not be as much as when there is silence. That was how I was able to handle mine. God helping me. So that is on that. And the other one, my sister was talking about violence. Beloved sister, what I've taught one or two people that had similar problem was, if you know that it's your mouth that is causing the man to lose his temper, you know your man, you know the kind of person he is, you read him, you understand the kind of person he is. Try to curtail it. When something is when you are being pushed, when you are being handled in such a way that it's trying to devalue you, because it does happen most times. And no woman want to be in that position, or a man even want to be in that position. You will now want to react. In that instance, what I expect or I do is I zip my mouth. I just get myself silent and give him some distance. The madness will only happen for a while. After a while, when you are talking to somebody and you are hollering and shouting, and the person is not responding to you, you by yourself borrow wisdom, sense, and say, am I actually mad? Look at the person I'm talking to, he's not even responding. And how not to respond is by going out of the sight of that person. If it's a man that is being talking so much, you go out of his reach. For instance, you can leave the room where he is and go to another room. Put on your ear this thing and be listening to music. You not even listen to the words that will get you angered up. If it's the woman that's our mouth, that's our strength. The same thing with the man. I'm not always of the advocate that a man should carry his car key or walk away, because that is where they walk into destructions. All you need to do, put on your music and just stay out of the place. If it's in a room, leave that room and go to another place and engage yourself with something else. You see that after some while it will die off. And once all the tension dies off, you begin to bring back yourself again. That is what I think, and that is what has happened that has helped one or two persons that I know. Thank you.
Okay, let me also lend my voice to those beautiful contributions. Thank you so much. Talking about abuse, well, not that I did not mention abuse. Of course, we are limited by time, and some things could just skip my mind while we were addressing some other things. But of course, we cannot negate the fact that abuse is one of the things that plagues marriages. And when we are talking about abuse, let's not also forget that abuse does not only end or start and end with physical abuse. Of course, we have emotional abuse, we have psychological abuse, we have financial abuse, we have verbal abuse, and all forms of abuse that happens in marriages. And for me, I've come to realize that one of the solutions to all forms of abuse is respect and value. If we respect our partner and value our partner, we will not abuse them in any way. Because that respect, that regard, that value that we have for them goes ahead of us in how we treat them, in how we talk to them, in how we relate with them, in how we behave with them. Then again, remember, I am not talking about, I said something about expectations. I also said something about, decisions and choices. So long as you are not part of that expectation, or you are not a determinant factor. Let's assume now that your husband is abusing you, or your wife is abusing you. You cannot end that abuse by yourself. You cannot tell him, stop this, and just think that ends it. That change, that transformation requires his participation. The best you can do is to, from time to time, talk to him. Say, honey, I don't like the way you talk to me. I don't like the way you treat, you treat me regarding this, regarding that. All of that has to do with communication. And not just communication, you see, because talking with your partner about what they do to you or what you think they are not doing for you, there is also the how it is communicated. And at times, in trying to communicate that, okay, you are treating me wrongly, we further even escalate the matter because we miss the how. And so all of these are dynamics that we need to embrace, tutor ourselves, practice, and see ourselves embrace. Whether you are the one that is abusing your partner, all you need to do is embrace and value them, respect them, value them. And you'll find out that if you really, truly respect and value your partner, the abuse that you dish out to your partner will begin to dwindle. And if it is, I mean, if the table is flipped on the other side and you are the one receiving abuse from your partner, you would again want to communicate this abuse or this level of abuse with your partner so that you can look at it, talk about it, but the how is always very vital so that we don't trigger things beyond necessary. I think what what Madam had said about a distant relationship, I don't. If I go into that matter again, I will overshoot. So let me just leave it at that. And I appreciate you, ma'am, for your contribution. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, David King, and thank you, Ambassador Vivian. We do really appreciate you. Thank you so much. My dear friends, I think we're going to be calling it a day at this point. My special thanks to Dave and to Vivian. Unfortunately, we didn't have Dr. Bola, who was supposed to be here. He had a coinciding event in Port Harcourt. He resides in Lagos, but has an event in Port Harcourt and promised that if he finishes on time, he was going to join us. But I don't think that happened for him. So subsequently, we're still going to bring him back and have him. It would have been a beautiful thing if he joined us, but we also enjoyed every moment of time we spent here. Myself, I so enjoyed it. I want to thank you for sparing time and for being here. I dropped my phone number in the comment section in case you would want us to continue to engage on some of these things. We'll have it. And I also drop our YouTube link. You can also follow to know more on our social handles, the Facebook and Instagram. You can just follow up and see what we'll have as updates. We'll be having this often. Dave, I will have you again. And Vivian, of course, we're here together. This is our thing. Now here we'll die. So we'll keep doing it until we'll see the result that we're expecting. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to wish you a beautiful night rest. And I pray that the Lord will continue to bless you all. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Yeah.